Hello and welcome back to another exciting episode of our BNI San Diego podcast. I'm really excited today because I am joined by one of our amazing business coaches / gurus here in BNI San Diego, Corryn. Corryn, thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ed, for having me. I'm really excited.
So, Corryn, I'm really excited about our topic in the realm of time management and how we establish ourselves on a daily, weekly basis. But before that, let's hear a little bit about you and your background. So would you mind sharing a little bit?
Of course, sure. So I am born and raised from San Diego, from here.
Which is rare nowadays.
It is rare. It is rare. Yeah, not too many of us. So born and raised from here. I was raised by a family of entrepreneurs. So my grandfather owned a lot of very, very successful hair salons. So ever since I can even remember, I remember being a little kid in the hair salon, answering the calls, doing my little handshake and 30-second pitch. So I swear from the moment that I came out of the womb, I was being trained on how to be an entrepreneur and how to be a business owner, which
fantastic.
I'm very, very grateful that my grandfather even, instilled those in me to this day. But yeah, I was raised by entrepreneurs. However, those of us who are entrepreneurs know that it isn't for everyone, right? It's tough. And out of the love in my grandfather's heart and my mother's heart, who were two really, solid rocks for me, they turned to me and they said, don't do the business owner thing. Don't be an entrepreneur. Go climb the corporate ladder. Go for the security. Go for the benefits. And honestly, that's what I did. So I ended up doing what I was supposed to do. I went to SDSU. So if there are any SDSU alums out there, went to SDSU, graduated with my bachelor's in business with an emphasis in finance. I've always been a numbers person. I actually thought that I wanted to do engineering. However, I
definitely don't see you as an engineer.
I am definitely not an engineer. I thought I was. I did statics and dynamics, and I very quickly got out of those classes and transitioned into business and into finance. So I then graduated, and right after that, I plugged myself into the corporate space. My grandfather, again, was a very high achiever, so I had very high standards for myself. So I wanted to get into corporate, and I wanted to become a wealth advisor. I wanted to be a CFP. I wanted to have those designations under my belt. And pretty quickly, within, I want to say it was about 4 years into my career, I knew that in order for me to move forward, that I would need to become that CFP. And then that's what I did. So I became a certified financial planner. And when I did that, I then got picked up by Merrill Lynch. So I was working at one of the top wealth management firms with one of the top advisors at Merrill Lynch. I was his partner, and I was helping him maintain his book of business and also build his book of business. So really, within 5 years of graduating, I had built a really good career for myself. However, the problem is even though I loved working with people, I loved helping people with their money, with their finances. I truly, truly believe that financial education is so important. And it's very important for us to be intentional with our finances and our wealth. Yeah, I slowly but surely started to recognize that there was a voice in the back of my head saying, hey, I think you want to run your own company. I don't think that you want to be doing this. I wanted to write books. I wanted to be a speaker. I wanted something more for myself.
So totally different than from what
Totally different.
Grandpa told you,
completely different. And, in the middle of that, I had identified myself with my career. So if I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing in this career, who was I? What was I going to do? Right?
That's an interesting topic, because that's not what we're going to be covering today. However, we may come back to that in a future episode, because I'm sure that there's a lot of entrepreneurs, business owners out there that have gone through that struggle.
Yeah. I didn't know who I was outside of my career. I mean, reality is I was living to work. I wasn't working to live, right? Yeah. So I didn't know who I was outside of that. I ended up going through a couple of personal development programs to really get clear on what I wanted and who I was. In the middle of that, I recognized that I didn't want to do what I was doing. I did the thing that you're not supposed to do. I left my career with zero backup plan. I had no idea what I was going to do. little did I know that I had identified myself with my career. And not only was I in the middle of figuring out what was I going to do with my life, I needed to figure out who I was. I didn't know who I was, and dove really heavy into personal and professional development. I truly believe that where I go, I follow. Yeah. So if I wanted to repeat history, I would keep doing what I'd always done, but I needed to change and I needed to shift. So in 2019, I ended up finding the science that I now train in and that I now coach in, the science of neurolinguistics programming. Ooh. I had absolutely no idea what it was. I couldn't even pronounce neurolinguistics programming. I just knew that for the longest time I had gotten in my own way. And it really, really, really irritated me that I had the perfect morning routine, that I had, the work schedule, that I was doing all of the things that the gurus and that the big people tell you to do. I read all the books. I was really frustrated that I was doing so much, yet I felt like I wasn't achieving my highest potential. That's why I signed up for this training. Then it was really just a healing journey for me personally. Then throughout 2019, I got trained and certified as a master coach and trainer in this science. I started to learn more about myself than I'd ever learned before. I started to learn more about people than I'd ever learned before. Yeah. And I truly believe that sales, success, customer service, all of that, the more that we learn about ourselves, the more that we can better serve other people. So at the end of 2019, with my new background and certification, I then launched my company in 2020. Got introduced to entrepreneurship
in the midst of a little thing going on, right?
Yeah, little thing. A lot of pivoting, a lot of shifting. Very, very grateful that through the science, I was able to scale to 6 figures during a global pandemic. I was able to help other companies triple, quadruple their clientele when other people were just surviving. So, earlier you asked me if I love what I do. I absolutely love what I do because it gives people access to lasting results and whatever those results are in their business and in their life.
Isn't it amazing when, like you said, you've shared your journey, and I'm glad you did, because it helps people, our listeners, kind of understand that where you currently are doesn't necessarily mean that's where you'll end up, or you have to end up. You have the ability to kind of create who you are if things aren't feeling right.
Yeah, we always have a choice. Always.
I'm really excited to be able to kind of talk with you, and not only now, but in future podcasts, because I know we're going to do several just from getting to know you over the past several months. And, being one of our incoming leadership, one of our presidents for one of our chapters here in BNI San Diego, I'm really excited. And we're talking today about time management. And in this day of constantly going and doing and all the things that we have going on, time management is such an essential area that we tend to push aside because we're always trying to pivot. We're always trying to be available for our customers, or, on the soccer field with our kids, or whatever it is. So I'm excited for this topic of time management today.
Yeah, I love talking about time. I mean, the reason why I do what I do is because time is our biggest currency. A lot of people look at money, and reality is we can make all the money in the world. We don't get time back. Time doesn't give us any refunds. It's all we got. So the better that we can get at utilizing our time to our advantage, utilizing it in a way that serves us rather than doesn't serve us, right? The more empowered that we'll be as people, which will then have a ripple effect in our business.
Well, and on the coaching side, I can totally see how helping a client, a business owner, whatever it is, helping them understand that you can either allow your schedule to dictate you, or you can dictate your schedule in your life.
Yeah. That right there is like the common thread between all of time management. And if I were to step back and if we analyze that, it really comes down to recognizing what we're choosing. I think so often people forget that they have a choice, right? They feel like they have to do things when reality is, as a business owner and as an entrepreneur, I get to make my schedule. Now, sometimes is my schedule a little bit more jam-packed than I would like? Yes. However, guess who did that? I did, right? That's a choice. And so the more that we can step into that empowerment of acknowledging what we're choosing, we can step into, actually, I'm the dictator of my schedule, right? So I'm planning my schedule accordingly.
So that's a really amazing kind of mindset to be able to have, is that ultimately I am in control. Whether I allow it to get out of control, like you said, like those moments where you're really packed, it was ultimately my decision to be able to do that. And to know that, and this has been a tough one for me, because time management can be when you're working with people all day long and people tend to dictate, that element, it can be really tough. But realizing that by saying yes to one thing, I'm ultimately saying no to something else. And when you're working with clients, I mean, what are some of those key elements or the things that you've seen people struggle with in this area?
Oh, the first one is definitely knowing where their time is going. A lot of people don't know where their time is going, right? It's very easy for people to say, I'm so busy, right? They have the busy work.
Oh, yeah.
However, they don't necessarily even know where their time is even being spent. So an exercise that I was taught this from a mentor, and then I now turn around and facilitate it with my clients, is it's called FU homework. And the FU homework is FU homework for a reason. It's audit your time, give me your calendar for the day. What do you have planned? And then what are you actually doing? And this is something that I do for myself also, because reality is we all have blind spots. I have a coach who coaches me, right? We all have blind spots. And, I want to make sure that I'm allocating my time in a way that I choose rather than my day getting the best of me.
Yeah.
So awareness is the first point. I say that there's kind of 3 points to change. The first one is awareness. So knowing what we didn't know. The second part is we then have a choice, right? We can then choose differently.
Okay.
And then the third part, that will facilitate the change that we're looking for.
Nice. I love those 3 elements, and it helps with kind of keeping us focused, right? Because it's easy, in this, again, we talk about our busy schedule, and it's funny that you mention, the word busy and how it's almost like white noise anymore. I don't even, when I'm talking to someone, and if I'm having quote unquote a busy day, I'll tell someone, yeah, it's been a very full day, because the word busy nowadays is overly used. We use it for everything. It doesn't have the same meaning. And like you said, it's about prioritizing what needs to get done, because you can have a very busy day, but was it productive?
Right. And back to the original question that you asked, I think that really comes down to knowing your goals. You need to know what your goals are and what your outcomes are. So that way, you know what to spend your time on, right? If you desire to get 5 more clients a week, I don't know if spending your time on your website design is really the best optimization of your time.
That's a good point.
So when we know our goals, we can then step back and say, okay, what do I need to do to achieve those goals? Where in my schedule am I putting that in my schedule to do that? When am I allotting that time?
So that actually, there's a couple, but I love to read. I love to absorb. I love to grow, always trying to get better. There was a book, and I don't know if I shared it with you yet or not, called 10X is Easier Than 2X.
No.
I've got to share this book with you then. It's a 3-book series, and it's the third of the 3, and it's talking about, really working in your 20% that you can only do, and getting rid of the 80% to handing off to somebody else. And it's really about the element of time management and putting, as you said, looking at your goals, and is what I'm about ready to do, does that fit in with my goal for today?
Yeah, exactly. And go ahead.
Oh, please go.
I was going to say, I'm a big color coordinator. So in my calendar, you will see different colors, because then that tells me where my time is going. Is it going towards marketing? Is it going towards operations? Is it networking? Is it prospecting? Where is my time going? Because that color will stand out to me, and that will tell me what my week is focusing on.
So you just mentioned something that I think for a lot of people can be overwhelming, and it's the idea of a calendar, right? A lot of people, I don't need a calendar. My calendar's right here.
Or
that
is so overwhelming to me.
Absolutely. There's like too many voices going on.
Right.
So it's what have you found, or what can you share with our listeners? And again, we're doing some popping in different areas, but I think it all kind of comes together. When it comes to time management, part of that is being able to look at what you're doing, which in order to do that, you've really got to have a calendar in place. And I loved how you said that you color coordinate, because that tells me that you time block as well.
Yes.
So, can you share with our listeners, or, that busy entrepreneur that's running in every direction, that really needs to take a step back and take a deep breath and understand that they need to get, or I need to get in control of things. What are some simple things that we can do to put in place, and even starting with a basic calendar?
Yeah, starting with a basic calendar is really going to help, in my humble opinion. I would say, piggybacking on what I mentioned about the goals, I think it's really important for us to start with the end in mind and then work backwards.
Stephen Covey, we talked about that on last week's podcast.
Yep. So starting with the end in mind, we can look at just 2020, projecting for 2024, right? What do you want to happen by the end of 2024? Okay. What do you need to have by quarter 4, quarter 3, quarter 2, quarter 1, right? Then from there, knowing your goal, okay, what do I need to do on a weekly basis in order to hit that goal? And then putting in your calendar those things that you get to do. Then what I do is, on a weekly basis, like every Friday, I will make sure that I will have my calendar planned for the coming week. So that way I already know in advance where my time is going and where I'm allocating my time. But when you can do it on a bigger scale, start with the bigger things and then drill down, it'll be easier, and that will allow you to avoid overwhelming. People get caught in the overwhelm when a couple of things. One, when they're too in the weeds, like they're too in the details of things, or if they're too big picture. If they're too up here in the global space, nothing will get done, right? We need some of those details. So I always start with the end in mind and then back up, having a you can even start out with having a monthly routine. Maybe in the middle of, let's just say we're in September, maybe in the middle of September, you plan your October and you come up with your October goal. Then you get clear on, okay, what do I need to do to hit that October goal? Cool. Put it in your calendar in advance. It's already in there.
Yeah.
So
it's really taking things in a bite-sized chunk instead of the overwhelming, looking at the entire year and getting overwhelmed. It's like, no, let's break it down into those the smallest time points, but being able to, understand. And one of the things you talked about is the, getting stuck in the weeds. I think for me, my arch nemesis is email. Excuse me. And when you're working in time management, email can blow that out of the water.
Yes.
And we get, like you said, stuck in the weeds. What would you recommend for someone like me who understands that I need to get a hold of I need to work on my calendar better? And I've got a very good calendar. I know when I've got my calls, I've got things scheduled. But in between, I'm like trying to cram everything in. It's like the story about the jar, the professor that told the story about the jar with the marbles and the sand and all the elements, and how he talked about you put the big things in first, which is what you talked about on the Fridays that you get to do.
Yep. On the email side of things, it is very easy to get sucked into the email, right? Very easy. So what I would say is, give yourself allotted times in the morning, in the evening, bust out some emails, and then don't look at it or don't go to it until your allotted times, right? I find that when we have space and then move over to our emails, right, it's easy to get sucked in there. So maybe give yourself a time frame of 30, 45 minutes in the morning. See if that's enough time. Do you need more time? Do you need less time? Right? Keep track of that so that way you can figure out how you work best within that email. Does that make sense?
No, absolutely. And my email is always up in front of me when I'm sitting at my desk. And maybe that's one element, is learning to, like you said, designate this is the block of time that I'm going to work on email, and then literally like close it out, because we have those little buzzers on the phone that go up on our computer and everything that are just constantly, it's those Pavlovian dog, the things that we salivate out as we hear. So I think that's wonderful. Here's a question for you. And I know that we're going to be ending here in just a little bit, but when we're looking at time management and we're looking at us having control, we're always bombarded by, again, email or people calling and everybody's emergencies or things that, hey, I need this right now. Is it, when you're working with a client and you're trying to help them take that deep breath and have time allotted, even, excuse me, even to go outside and go for a walk for a minute. Do you ever hear from customers? Because I know that this one is for me. I love people. In BNI, I get to work with people every day. I'm so excited. But I've also learned that because of my love for people, I can allow somebody else to dictate my schedule, because I'll get someone in and say, hey, Ed, I need this, or hey, Ed, can I help with that? And I've got to learn how to say no to certain things. Now, I notice you're smiling as I said that, right? Because is that that's a big area, right?
It is. Yeah, it is a big area. And the way that I'm going to answer this, I don't know if this is I'm going to say the right answer. Here's what I found.
The politically correct answer.
Yeah, this is what I found for me. Is I notice for myself, I'm much more of an introvert than an extrovert. A lot of people don't see that in me. They think that I'm more extroverted. However, I am more introverted. And I love helping people. I love being there for people. I love being a resource, right? So I have fallen into the yes trap, right? Of saying yes to everyone.
Yeah.
I recognized that by saying yes to everyone actually depleted me so much that I couldn't be my 100% for those people.
Whoa, that's a huge, wow. That's a lot right there.
Yeah, it's a spin on putting yourself first, right? Yeah. I recognize that when I honor what I need, and when I honor I need to spend that walk, I need to spend the 5 minutes, I need to, whatever that is, I actually show up better for my clients, better for that person, more intentionally, and I'm actually present and I'm actually there. Whoa. Which, if I'm constantly in go mode saying yes to everyone and everything, how much am I really giving in that?
And how present are you really?
Yes.
Yeah, I had a friend.
It's kind of a little bit of a paradox.
Oh, totally. Because the element of, be where your feet are, be in the moment, not thinking about, other things. When I'm at the dinner table with our family, I've shared this before. There have been moments where we're sitting at the dinner table and my wife will put her hand over mine. And that's always a telltale sign for me. Like, uh-oh, what did I do? And she's like, well, why don't you join us? And I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm right here. She goes, no, I can tell by your face. You're physically here, but mentally you're with a client, you're doing something else. Why don't you join us? So it really is being able to give 100% of your time to the moment. Yeah.
Yeah. And being able to turn off, right? And having moments to turn on.
This little thing right here is probably is probably a huge, I know it is for me. The fact that it's right here at arm's reach tells you that. But this is that element of what we just talked about. This is the thing that's always calling us, the dings and all the elements, and it takes away from being in the moment. So Corryn, we're in BNI, where you're going to be an incoming president. We're talking about being present in the moment. We're talking about time management. So now I want to take just a couple of minutes and as we close, talk to those local BNI members or people in Dubai or whoever's going to be listening to this on the BNI side of things. But when you're showing up to your meeting, or you're preparing for your meeting, or you're allotting time on your calendar for your meeting, what should you be doing?
I love that. And also, hello, BNI family. I'll call you BNI family from wherever you are. The first thing that I always remember, or I do my best to consistently remember, is how we do one thing is how we do everything. And how we do the small things is how we do the big things. So if we have that in the back of our head, the way that we show up on a Zoom, the way that we show up in person, the tiniest little things people notice and people pick up on.
You mean when I'm in a meeting and I'm doing this,
people
see it. Know what I'm doing, right?
Yeah, looking down at your phone. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And if we can treat our meeting time, treat our one-to-ones, treat our presentations, whether they're the featured presentations or your weekly presentations, treat those as absolute gold. I promise you that will have a ripple effect in your business, because how you do one thing is how you do everything. So if you get so well trained that BNI is my time to be on, right? Yep. And it helps that, at least for me, it's 7 a.m., right? So if I can be on at 7 a.m., it's going to have a ripple effect in the rest of my day. It will allow you to carry that into your business, into your conversations with your clients, and ultimately into your life as well. I truly, truly believe that.
Well, and it causes you to be present. And this is one of the things that I've just recently, because I've been called on the carpet on it, and I'm referring to this little thing. So now what I try to do is either keep it in my pocket and leave it in my pocket, or leave it in the car.
Yeah.
Right.
Leave it somewhere, but not on the table. Not on the table.
Because what it also does is it tells people that I was just watched a Simon Sinek snippet, and he talked about the element of having another person in the room, or having another person present, and he was referring to this. You know, imagine walking up and you're talking to someone, you're with a client. Would you hold your phone when you're with your ideal client? Absolutely not.
No, not
but yet we find ourselves doing that. And we do that at the dinner table. We do that when we're in a meeting, but just being able to put it in a way where we can't see it or touch it, it also tells the person across from us that they're the most important thing in that moment.
Yep. And guess what? People, they are the most important person in their world. So if you can make people feel like the most important person, you've won.
Okay, all of you BNI members out there, and I'm talking to myself as well.
And me too.
That is gold. What we just talked about in the last 2 minutes is worth its weight in gold. Being present in the moment when someone is speaking, when you're just like when I'm speaking, I want people to listen to me and what I've got to say. I want if I want people to do that for me, I better be doing it for the other people around. So being in the moment, but all of these things have to do with our time management, because having your BNI meeting in your calendar, that says that for this allotted time, I'm with my best client.
Yes.
And again, it goes back to that time management thing. If we're constantly checking our phone or things that are going on, basically what we've done is we've not done proper time management, because we're allowing things to creep into our next meeting.
Yep.
Whoa.
You said
Corryn,
it. That was great.
Awesome. I'm absolutely grateful, and thank you for joining us today. I look forward to having you on. So I have one last question, and I want you to address our audience. As a business coach, as someone who is really good at what she does, what would a final kind of a send-off be that you'd want for our listeners to kind of get a hold of between now and the next time we get to chat?
Oh, this is something that I consistently remind myself of. Your business, my business, will only evolve as much as I do. So the more that I evolve, the more that I grow, the more that it'll have a ripple effect on my business, because I'm the common denominator. So the more that you do your personal and professional development, the more that will have a ripple effect on your results.
So what I just heard you say is that the person you are today is not the person your business needs.
Correct.
Needs a year from now. Correct. Which means we've got to always be elevating ourselves.
Yes, 100%.
Ooh, I love that. Oh, that just gave me chills. Thank you for that one. Okay, everyone. Again, thank you for joining us today on our BNI San Diego podcast. Corryn, I look forward to being able to connect with you again. For our listeners, if you want to be able to get a hold of Corryn, check our notes down below. We'll have her contact info and a little bit about her, so you can reach out to her and connect with her. She's absolutely amazing. We're really excited to have you as our incoming president for BNI Carmel Valley, one of our top chapters, and excited to see what happens in the coming year. And again, Corryn, just thank you for joining us today, and I look forward to having you on again.
Thank you so much, Ed. This was fantastic.
It's my pleasure. And to our listeners, we look forward to seeing you back next week with another amazing guest. Thank you and have a great afternoon.
This episode of the BNI San Diego podcast has been brought to you by Cruise Productions, a San Diego-based video production company and proud BNI member. You can find us at the intersection where business and creativity meet, or online at cruiseproductionsinc.com.